I don't think so. We just cut up our girlfriend with a chainsaw. Does that sound fine?
Hey, she-bitch, welcome to What Makes It Scary, a seasonal podcast unleashing the fear behind your favorite and not-so-favorite horror movies. I'm your host, Jody Henderson of Clever Girl Effects Studios, and with me, as always, Alex Vincent of Mr. Red Productions.
Hey, she-bitch, this.
Boom!
Boom!
Like way bigger than you would ever think a gun noise would be.
Today is our grooviest episode yet.
Yes, it is the episode of Evil Dead.
Hey, Evil Dead.
I was gonna say, are you gonna keep doing that through the whole episode? Because your voice is gonna get very, very tired.
You know I am, baby.
Okay, I'm already annoyed by it.
What do you... Are you saying you want to come get some?
No, I don't want to give you some sugar either.
Oh no, give me some sugar, baby. Hey, it's the Evil Dead. I'm so excited for this episode.
Me too.
All right. I'm going to start off strong.
Okay.
I enjoy doing the show. I like it a lot. All the episodes that we've done, the research, I like watching these movies. This season, I'm narrowing it down to just season 2 of What Makes It Scary.
Yeah.
These are my favorite movies we've watched.
Wow.
I know, out of all of the movies that...
Wow.
And I had never seen them until...
Yeah.
Well, I'll get into more specifics in history, but... I hadn't watched these until we were doing the research for this, but you've heard about them, right?
Mm-hmm,
I was so convinced that they were going to be overhyped, because how could they not be? People talk about them. These are like the movies that everybody talks about.
Right.
I was convinced that I was going to...
That it wasn't going to be as good.
Right. I was going to be like, I don't really get it. Like, maybe for the time, sure. But I was having such a great time watching these movies. They're so much fun. I'm very excited to get into it.
I was terrified to watch these movies.
Were you really?
Yeah, because all I've ever known
Mm-hmm.
from Evil Dead is the whatever it is peeking out from the cellar.
Oh, sure.
And that thing is fucking terrifying when you don't know like anything else.
Yeah, yeah.
So like you've always seen the old one, but then like back in 2013
Mm-hmm.
when the remake came out and they
Yeah.
had that commercial which played everywhere and was on every single YouTube
Was that in the trailer?
ad. Yeah.
Mhm.
I was like, oh, never. I'm never going to watch that movie
Yikes.
because that's scary.
Wow. Yeah, that's really interesting. Is that your history
That's it.
before?
Yeah, that's absolutely it.
And then we watched it for this.
Yeah, I knew Evil Dead was a cult classic.
Mhm.
I knew that it was kind of like Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yeah, it occupies a very similar
I
space.
knew that's what it was and that people like quoted lines from it and whatever. And I knew there was a musical that has like a splash zone for the blood.
Oh, right. You can't be like if you're within a certain distance from the stage.
Right, you're gonna get hit.
You're gonna get wet.
And that's all I knew.
Okay, yeah. That's interesting.
I guess I knew who Bruce Campbell was.
Sure.
I feel horrible the way I found out like who he was.
Right. We talked about how you were asking me like what else he was in, and I told you Burn Notice,
and I
said,
immediately said like, oh, he's the fat guy from
Yeah.
Burn Notice. I feel so bad.
uncool. But also, I remember a conversation we had in which you told me that he was in that. So I must be making some stuff up in my brain.
You must be, because no, never.
I'm gaslighting myself.
I think so.
My history with these movies is very funny, I think, because you and I used to be involved in a local community theater. And there was somebody who also did some stuff there, and he's a film guy, I'd say.
Yeah.
And
he wrote for the local newspaper too. Like, he was very versatile in media.
Yeah, and he very knowledgeable about stuff. And we, by the way, this is known, we live in Michigan, which Sam Raimi, Bruce Campbell, the team that made this movie.
So exciting.
Yeah, that's what draws me to it a lot. Also, it was from Michigan. A lot of it was filmed here. Most of it was filmed in Tennessee, in the actual stuff in the cabin, but there was some stuff that was filmed here. And so because of that, and because he knew that I was like into filmmaking and everything, he decided to lend me. And I was a kid. I must have been.
You weren't a kid. We were dating.
It's okay. I was 18 years old.
You were 18.
I was a young. People call people my age. Like I get called kid now.
I know, but I don't like to think of me dating a kid, even though I was 19.
You were a kid as well. Yeah, you were a kid as well. All right. But he lent me a DVD copy of Army of Darkness, the third movie.
He gave that.
Oh, right,
to
right.
you.
He gave it to me. I still own this. No context. He told me about it, but he didn't give me the first two movies on DVD.
I wasn't there for these conversations.
No, you weren't.
How weird.
And I can't remember why this came up or how, but he was like, you should check these out. So I watched it as a like younger person, and again, without having seen the first two, I did not get it in any way.
No,
I watched
why would
these
you?
right?
You'd just be like, what is this medieval movie?
Yeah. So I didn't care for it, to be honest. I was like, this is a weird thing I didn't understand. So I kind of put it out of my mind, and I was like, oh, that's just this weird thing. But again, you hear about this movie as a cult classic. This is when people talk about movies being a cult classic, this is what I think about. Like
Really?
This is for me the preeminent like indie movie. This is the defining indie movie.
I think of A Christmas Story as cult classics.
I don't think that's a cult classic.
Yes, it
I think
is.
that's
It
pretty
absolutely
popular.
is.
You think so?
What do you think a cult classic means?
Like
it has a cult following.
Yeah, I kind of assume that it's a movie that isn't huge.
It wouldn't. It's not a huge movie, but there are people who, like myself, every Christmas, that's the only thing they can ever watch because it's on for 24 hours.
I guess that's true.
Hocus Pocus is almost like that too with
I
Halloween.
would agree with
more
that.
and more and more.
See, the thing is, when I think of a cult classic, I think
You
the
think
movie
it's like not popular or
Well,
whatever,
right, but I
or-
also think the movie has to be cool in some way. And I don't
up.
mean this as an insult, but I don't really think
A
of
Christmas Story is a great movie.
Yeah, it is. It is. I'm
It's
not saying
cool as well.
Okay, I don't think that's true.
Listen, who went to the museum? Who went to
Both of
see
us.
the house?
I
Yeah,
was there and you were there. You were there too. If you're saying that I'm a loser for having done that, you
I'm
also
not calling
are
you a loser.
Well,
I'm
I
saying
am.
it's cool.
Okay, great.
And you went there as well.
It's interesting. I don't know. It's just a weird thing. All right, so
Tweet
that's
at us your favorite
Yeah,
cult classic movie.
okay, but don't tweet in that tone of voice.
No, only that. Tone
Okay,
of
figure that
voice.
out. So that's our history with the movie.
So not much.
Yeah,
So
really
we
not
just-
much. And then
we just dove head in
Yeah.
and watched all of the movies. By all, we mean Evil Dead. The Evil Dead.
The Evil Dead. It's not the Facebook.
Yeah.
Wait, it is the Facebook. It's
Yeah.
not clean.
It's so The Evil Dead, Evil Dead 2, Dead at Dawn.
Dead Deaderson. Dead Deaderson. Sometimes called Dead by Dawn.
Dead by Dawn.
Yeah.
And then Army of Darkness.
Mm-hmm.
And then the 2013 reboot, remake,
Yeah.
Evil Dead.
Right.
No, the.
We did not watch the TV show yet,
No,
although you and I are both chomping at the bit to do so.
Right. I'm trying to keep this podcast because this is
It's a
what
movie.
makes movies scary. So maybe one day we'll branch out. Who knows? But
Right.
you want to get into these movies?
I really do. I'm excited. These movies, like I said, a lot of what draws me to it is the fact that even the first movie, it feels very indie. Like watching the movie, you can feel how low budget it is, how inexperienced everyone is. And yet it's so good that it's inspiring. Like when I was watching this, that was what I was immediately drawn to. And I know I'm not the only one who thinks this way. Like anyone who gets into filmmaking after this movie was released talks about this movie as one of their inspirations. Along with Star Wars did a very similar thing. There was a lot of indie stuff. So this movie, what year did it come out, Jad?
The movie came out, The Evil Dead came out in 1981.
Picture it. The hair is big.
The Howling's out.
The Howling is out. American Werewolf in London. Big year for horror movies.
Huge year.
Yeah, so let's start.
Yeah, speaking of budgets for this movie, it was not very big. And they actually had to halt in the middle of filming to raise more funds for it.
Oh, yeah.
So, this was literally, scraping bottom of the barrel to get
really
any
was.
funds together. Sam Raimi used his friends, his family to help film this, and I like that about the movies, the series.
Uh-huh. It's very much collaborative and it's a homespun endeavor, to be sure. Okay, so this first movie starts and we meet 5 characters in a car. One of them is played by Bruce Campbell, and that's Ash, which
Ashley Williams.
Ashley is his name, which, all right, okay. It's unusual, right? Like, that's not a common name.
I don't know. We know a male Ashley.
Do we?
Yes, we do.
Oh, okay.
And I'll just leave it at that.
Great. Not the same. Not Ashley Williams from Evil Dead.
No.
He owns the car that's being driven, but he's not driving it.
Yeah.
This is weird. Scotty is driving it.
Scotty's a jerk.
He's kind of a jerk. Yeah, he's a little bit like that blonde jock character. I don't think movies had kind of solidified these stereotypes yet, but he's kind of like that. And also Ash is dating Linda. And she's in the car too.
Who's wearing
a MSU,
which is Michigan State University.
Yeah, which I gotta say. Go blue.
Ew, yeah,
what are we doing here? Go blue, go blue, go blue. We have to put that out there a couple times to make up for the many, many MSU shirts we see in the movie. So the intensity for this movie starts really early because as they're driving to this cabin, things get weird. I think
they drive over a bridge.
Yeah, they drive over this bridge, right? And the car starts to get like a little out of hand, but they almost drive right into a truck. But
and then they go over the bridge. The bridge like breaks.
Yeah, there's
like one plank in it, and they're like, "Oh well, let's just keep going."
Yep. So not taking that as a sign or anything.
Right. They get to the cabin in the woods.
Yeah. By the way, a little stopping point here. The Cabin in the Woods, the movie, they're directly pastiching this movie.
It's blatantly obvious.
There's even a shot later where I think it's Linda is like sitting at the table and behind her you can see the cellar door open. And that's exactly the same shot we see in Cabin in the Woods when Dana is sitting in the foreground and you see the thing.
Right. It's a very cool shot.
It really is. They get to this cabin and things are weird. Like there's this
porch swing
that is swinging and it's knocking
going
against
wild.
Right.
And then all of a sudden like Scotty like unlocks the door and
it immediately
stops swinging.
Again, these things would make you go, something ain't right. But these guys have not seen horror movies because Scream hadn't come out yet.
Right. So they didn't know the rules.
Right. They didn't know the rules. So they get settled in. They're having a good time. They're kind of just hanging out here. There's not really a reason that they're doing this. They're just kind of a getaway. Cheryl, who is
Ash's sister,
right?
Who came along as well.
Yep.
So she's like the fifth wheel because we have like Scotty and Shelly.
Shelly is the fifth wheel.
No,
really?
Scotty and Shelly are dating.
Oh, fifth wheel in terms of not dating anyone.
Yeah, and then there's Linda and Ash. So Cheryl is
she is
odd person out.
Her defining characteristic is that she draws, and that's important.
An artist.
Yeah, she's an artist because at one point she's doing her doodles. She's drawing.
Doing her doodles.
Doing her doodles. That's the tagline for this movie. But she starts to like get a little weirded out, and her hand starts to move on its own, and is drawing what can only be described as SpongeBob SquarePants.
Right, because it's just like a 3D block with a face on.
Yeah, it looks like SpongeBob, and she's scared of it because she has that fear of like holes, that like trichtophobia or something where people are scared of holes.
Yeah.
So she freaks out and throws it. Her hand, it goes a little gray for a second. Mm-hmm. This is interesting because the demons are not out yet. So what's going on here?
What the fuck is going on?
Yeah,
here?
Sam Raimi, you got some explaining to do.
So that happens, and then Ash and Linda are like sitting in the parlor, and they're doing this weird thing about
this is a cute scene.
It is really cute. He's pretending to be asleep, but he has like this box in his hand, and like Linda's like trying to grab the box, but
see what's inside.
Every time she kind of like looks at the box, Ashley like
opens his eyes. Yeah,
and then like
she
when
looks back at him.
Yeah, turns back and closes. And so it is a really cute scene.
Mm-hmm.
It what's in the box is a gift for Linda.
Yeah.
It's a
pendant. It's a necklace.
It's a mini magnifying glass.
This is super interesting to me because at no point in the movie is it ever used the way a magnifying glass would be used.
Apparently it was intended to be that way.
The original ending was they would use it to reflect light and burn something, but they didn't do that. So instead of it just being a normal pendant, it's this magnifying glass. And this is a lot like Chekhov's gun, where if you show a magnifying glass pendant, it has to be used as a magnifying glass at some point. The fact that it isn't, it's a weird wrinkle, but these movies are weird, so I'm willing to go with it. It's a gift for Linda. It's this necklace, and she's wearing it now, and it looks nice, I guess. I don't know.
So then they sit down to eat.
Yep, dinner time. I'm hungry.
And that's when the cellar door pops
So now
open.
I'm scared.
Yeah.
Which makes me hungry, so it's a recursion loop.
But that would be terrifying.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, just this cellar door
and
it
bangs open, too, so I always have, like, a scary thing about like sudden loud noises. It just makes me go, ugh.
Loud noises.
Okay, see, you're freaking me out now.
But
they decide to investigate. They're like, well, they
send Scotty and Ash down there.
Right. They're like, send the boys.
Yeah. And they they go down there. It's this big, long, drawn-out
It
scene.
takes a long time.
It's supposed to be like...
It's suspenseful.
I was going to say, it's supposed to build suspense. You being the one that hates suspense.
I do, yeah.
But I couldn't stand this scene. I was like, hurry up, find something.
Whenever we watch movies together, I'm just a contrarian, and every time you're like annoyed by something, I'm like, listen, it's good. Even though I hate long drawn out scenes, and this, I was also like, let's wrap it up, Sam.
There's like a jump scare where Scott jumps out and scares Ash.
He hides. I hate cheap jump scares. I hate fake jump scares. It's okay if you do it once in a while, but it annoys me.
But they find a recorder.
Right. They found it's an old tape.
Yeah.
One of those you have to loop the actual film, not film, audio film.
That and a book and a dagger.
It's a real treasure trove down there. Yeah.
The dagger has some skulls on it, and it does look pretty badass.
It's creepy.
So they take it all upstairs, and of course, you gotta look through the book.
You must not read from the book.
Yeah, and then they're playing they're
playing the tape.
The recording.
It's just
Cheryl's the one that starts freaking out about it?
I think that's right.
I think so.
You're right. Well, because the voice is a professor, and he says that he was here. The reason this cabin exists is he took this book, which is in this movie, they call it the Naturan Demento, which stands for Book of the Dead. And it has this really strong connection with the Kandarian demons. Now, I don't think Kandar is a real place. I'm not sure. Don't at me, or do at me, but helpfully. So I think this is fictional, but the idea is there are these demons there. There's these forces that he describes as the thing that came before human. So these are like a pre-human force.
Entities.
Yeah, these entities.
Yeah.
And the book can kind of control them. It's not control so much as it just kind of has power.
It's like a spell book almost.
Yeah, it's almost like
it's a book that's wrapped in human flesh and written in blood. Ugh. It doesn't say human blood, it just says blood.
I'm going to assume human blood.
Yeah.
The book, every single time we see it throughout these movies, changes its design. I think the second one is my favorite. It's the scariest. I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, I think they all look really cool.
Yeah, they do. They all look really cool, that's for sure.
So, as this recording is going on, Cheryl's like, stop playing it. I'm done listening to it. The doctor on the recorder is saying these words. What can only I is kind of Latin.
Yeah, it's vaguely
Kandarian.
Latin.
Yeah, whatever it's supposed to be.
He does start reading pages, he says, and these are pages. These are in the book, and he starts saying these words.
Right, and Cheryl's screaming, and all of a sudden this tree just breaks through one of the windows because it's getting to be really stormy outside.
Yeah.
And so that's when everyone was like, oh, okay, we'll stop playing it. Cheryl's scared.
Right, the girl's scared.
Yeah.
She's not having it though. She is this where she runs out?
I mean, it's a little while later that she wraps up in her robe and she hears something outside, so she goes to investigate.
Yeah, it's later at night and she goes out by herself.
Dumbass.
Dumb. She
Cheryl.
goes out by herself. She doesn't tell anybody she's leaving. Doesn't bring anyone with her. Stupid.
Doesn't she see those POV shots of the demon just running around?
Yeah,
because this whole series is littered with them.
Yep. This is the shot of the entity, the force. It's kind of just shooming through the woods towards
which is
people.
cool because Sam Raimi kind of invented a way of doing that.
Yeah, right. Do you want to talk about that?
There's a couple of different ways he did it.
Mm-hmm.
I know one of them is he put the camera on a 2x4 and had two people running through the woods.
Very low budget, this movie.
Yeah. Another one, it might be in the second one even, where he's hanging off a raft.
Oh, right.
And the raft is going through.
I think that is
that
the second
stuff.
one.
And then at the very end, where it goes all the way through the house and out the front door.
Oh, yeah.
It's Sam Raimi on a bike.
That sounds scary.
Yeah, right?
Even without a camera, I would be scared to run through a cabin on a bike.
Yeah, it goes through two doors.
Yeah. Ugh.
And then goes out the front. I don't know how he didn't just run into Bruce Campbell.
Right. I don't know. I assume when Bruce Campbell reaches out and reaches his arms out, he's grabbing him kind of.
I don't know. I would never stand in front of a bike that was coming towards me.
Yeah. Anyway, unfortunately, we have to get back to this movie. This is the scene. This is my least favorite scene. And this could be a little bit of a trigger warning because we're going to talk about some bad stuff.
The big R.
The R word, yeah. So she runs into this tree and it wraps its branches around her and essentially rapes her.
Right.
And that's the end of the scene. She ends up running back. I don't like this. I feel like
it's very weird.
It's very out of place. We're not going to get too long on this, obviously, but I would rather this not be in the movie. And Sam Raimi agrees. He is,
which makes it all better.
It does. He's come out and said that he was young and didn't really understand.
Right. He never wanted to offend anyone
in that way.
And these are the things that we have to take. Our world is constantly changing. Mm-hmm. Hopefully we're going along with it to grow as a society and come together on these issues and be more accepting of other things.
Absolutely.
So it's great that he would look back and be like, this is something I did when I was young and it wasn't right.
Right.
And I think if more people admitted, like, I was young.
Absolutely.
But we're so quick to, like, jump on people, like, who tweeted something, like, 5 years ago.
That's true, too.
Whatever. As long as you're learning and continuing to grow and moving forward and not making the same mistakes all the time, like, we should have forgiveness for those people.
If you've demonstrated an ability to recognize your mistakes and atone for them, that's very good. And
absolutely. We have stuff that we've said on podcasts from probably 5 years ago that we're like,
I don't know.
Wasn't that great.
Wouldn't have said that nowadays.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that scene's over. Cheryl runs back and she tries to tell everybody what happened. They don't believe her, but they see that she's freaking out. So they try to, Ash takes her to the car and
right. She's like, get me out of here.
They try to leave. Now the car at first doesn't start. I think this is pretty forward thinking of them to have this scene in there because I don't know that at the time you would be clued into the language of horror movies. Like, oh, the car's obviously not going to start.
Right.
But this movie kind of treats it as you do know that. And like Cheryl even says, it's not going to let us leave.
The forest is not going to let us leave,
right,
is what she says. Mm-hmm. It does start.
But it does start, so that's another little twist.
And they drive all the way through the woods and they get back to that bridge from the beginning.
Right.
And lo and behold, the bridge is destroyed.
Yep. All the iron beams underneath it have been wrenched upwards. You know what it looks like?
Freddy Krueger's claw.
Oh, kind of, yeah.
That's kind of what it looks like.
Yeah, just like this clawed, like...
That's like, no, none shall pass.
None shall pass. I love the directing in this movie, too. There's a really great shot of Cheryl, like, freaking out. She falls to the ground in front. All you see is, like, the headlights are splayed out, and it's, like, center.
It's, like, complete blackness all around, and she's like, what is it? What is it, Ash? What is it? And then she sees, like, the bridge is, like, out and just, like, screaming and whatever. He, like, wrestles her back into the car. They go back to the cabin.
Yeah. They go back to the cabin, and instead of doing anything else, they decide to do a fun card game where they're trying to get... It's like Ghostbusters.
It's Shelly and Linda are playing the game.
Yeah.
Shelly's, like, holding up a card, and Linda's, like, trying to guess what it is.
And I think she's not getting it, but isn't she saying that she's
Shelly's
getting
like,
it?
you got it!
It's again like Ghostbusters where Bill Murray's like, to the girl, he's like, wow, you are really something else, aren't you?
But then the game gets, like, super serious because all of a sudden Cheryl's chiming in.
She's on the other side of the room.
Who's, like, looking out the window.
Yeah.
And she's like, 8 of spades, queen of diamonds. And she just starts yelling over and over about, like, what card's next. And it really is what is.
Yeah.
It's in Shelley's hand.
This is the kind of thing that's really interesting because it's not a scare it's not a trick. Like, as a filmmaker, you know what, like, there's no trick there. She's just saying the cards that they know are up next.
Right, but it's the way that she's saying it.
Right, it's the way she's saying it, and watching the movie, you're in the movie, so you're in these characters' heads, and that is a trick. It is a scary thing. Mm-hmm. I find this movie so incredibly fascinating for stuff like that.
So, she's, saying all these cards, and then all of a sudden she whips her head back around.
She whips her hair back and forth.
She really does, and her face has gone full deadite.
Oh, deadite. There we go. We don't hear that term until the end of the until the end of the second movie, but I think it applies to all of these demons.
I believe it does.
Yeah.
So she's like kind of gray faced, has no iris,
right?
Yeah.
She got white eyes.
Yeah,
which
and she's just screaming. She's levitating. These voices are coming out of her that aren't hers. It's like, who disturbs my slumber?
That's what she says.
She turns into that
the lion
tiger
head thing. Yeah,
from Aladdin.
It's pretty sick, but I didn't get the reference at the time because that movie didn't exist.
Right, she's freaking out. They're trying to wrestle her to the ground. She grabs a pencil.
Yeah.
Stabs Linda in the ankle with it.
Ugh.
That scene's oh, that's one of those gut wrenchers where you're just like, ooh.
Because it does so much damage and it bleeds so much.
Yeah, not only does she just like stab, she like twists it.
It's like tearing her. And it's gross. It's gross.
The cellar door is open. Both girls are on the floor. And
doing the dinosaur.
I was going to say...
Sorry.
And I think somebody like kicks Cheryl in the face and she rolls over and lands in the cellar.
Right, and they slam it shut.
Scotty's like sitting on top of it. Cheryl's like beating on it, like almost lifting him into the air trying to get out.
It's like the end of Hereditary. I know you haven't seen it, but there's
someone out there will.
There's a scene where somebody's like on the roof pounding on the attic door, and somebody's up there hiding. So it's very cool. So they lock Cheryl down there. Shelley has been wounded. She's like lying in bed. Linda.
Yep.
Right. Linda has been. What's Shelley's deal? What happens with her?
Shelley is then yelling, what happened to Cheryl's eyes? Why does she look like that?
Yeah.
You know, what's wrong with her?
Fair questions, to be sure.
Those are things that I would be saying.
Yeah.
She like goes to Shelley goes to her room.
Yeah, she's like, I'm out of here.
She's like, oh, and she looks out the window, and that's when we get another one of those POV, like, force shots that comes and breaks right through.
Yeah.
A real fucking window.
Yep. This was not a trick.
Yeah, when they filmed this, that was a real window, and they had to rig this, like, 2x4 that came out in front of the camera, and whatever. That's very dangerous, and that's just a handful of the things that were very dangerous in this movie.
Yeah, Sam Raimi, this is another negative that we have to talk about. Sam Raimi wasn't very kind to the actors on set here. I'm not a fan of this. People think that you need to like get an authentic reaction, quote unquote, out of your actors by torturing. Quentin Tarantino does this a lot too.
And Stanley Kubrick.
Yeah, and Stanley Kubrick. Just being just a dick to the actors for the sake of like authenticity. I'm not for this. I think you can make a perfectly fine movie without doing this.
Right. So like, yeah. So we break a real window.
Yeah.
The Force Ghost.
Sure. Okay.
Since this is basically Star Wars,
basically
this
Star
entire
Wars.
movie. Changes Shelley into a deadite.
Yep.
She then walks back out to the living room where Ash and Scotty are.
And she has a nail gun. Not yet.
No. Grabs the dagger and is gonna attack Scott with it.
Right.
Like almost bending him backwards to the fireplace, like gonna burn his head, like anything, like I'll swallow your soul. Like this is where all that mumbo jumbo keeps happening. She goes to stab Scotty. He takes out his buck knife. And like goes for her hand that's holding the dagger and gets a good slice on it.
Yeah, but it's not off yet.
No, it's not off. And so all of a sudden Shelley's like, oh, you want this hand? You want this hand? And she just like reaches up and bites it off.
She's like, need a hand? And then she bites her hand off and falls to the ground. This is sick.
Can I have a round of applause?
Wow.
So she bites off her hand. It's just like laying on the dagger or whatever. And Ash has got an axe.
Yeah.
But he's like frozen. And Scotty's like, fucking kill her.
Funny to think, Ash in this first movie is very useless. He doesn't do a lot, which is very funny to think about who Ash becomes in later movies.
But so Scotty's like, kill her.
Yeah,
like,
do something.
Kill her, which is like, you know, that's his girlfriend. Scott's girlfriend is Shelley.
Well, she's a demon, and I can speak from experience. Any excuse to rid the world of girlfriends is...
So he grabs the axe out of Ash's hands and just wails on Shelley and tears her into a million
It's gross.
pieces.
It is a complete what do you call it? Not decapitation, but delimification and capitation. It's all parts.
What do they call it? You have to...
It's dismemberment. That's the word, right? Yeah. It's complete dismemberment. Everyone's freaking out, obviously.
And this is where Scott's like, I don't give a shit about you. I don't give a shit about my girlfriend that I just killed. I'm getting out of here. It's like it's an intense scene because he's just like, fuck this. Like, I don't care about anybody. I don't care about your sister. You can leave her here for dead.
Yep.
Well, they want to leave and like Linda can't walk because she got stabbed in the ankle. And he's like, I don't give a fuck about Linda.
Right.
So he goes out.
Yeah, and we kind of don't see him for a little bit.
He's getting beat up by the trees.
Right.
I wonder if he got raped. Probably not. He's a guy.
But and Ash is like, oh, it's just me and Linda, except no, it isn't.
He like pulls the covers off of Linda, and where she got stabbed in the ankle is like festering and spreading, and all of a sudden then her eyes just like pop open, and they don't have irises either, so now she's a deadite.
Oh no.
She sits up and is like, she's not very like attacky.
Right, she's just creepy. She just does all these like,
laughing.
We're gonna get you, and like laughing.
Just continual laughing and like rocking back and forth and all this stuff, and which is a good scene too, because Ash is just like, shut the fuck up, Linda.
Right.
And he like drags her out at one point, which obviously Bruce Campbell just like dragged her.
Yeah, there's no like
down the front porch steps and just leaves her in the lawn and like walked back in like that was gonna solve everything.
Well, I think he like locked her out, but yeah, these things are clearly super strong. They can get back in. It's not a very long-term solution.
It's not.
Sure.
Scott comes back. He's been beaten to shit.
Right, and we're like, "What happened to you, Scott?" And he's like, "The trees or whatever.
They wouldn't let me leave." Blah 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 blah. Ash is trying to keep him alive. Linda's like out just laughing her ass off and all this other stuff.
Ash is like, I'll deal with you later.
Yeah, I'll deal with you later.
Right.
Shut up.
We're going to have some words.
Scott dies.
Oh, it's sad.
And then Linda comes back in and goes to stab Ash with the dagger.
Yeah.
She gets a cut on him.
Right, it cuts her arm.
This is when she's like licks the blade.
Oh, yeah.
Will then like go to inspire other grosser things in later movies. Yeah.
The only thing I knew about the remake was
that
this scene.
Okay. Well, they're like fighting back and forth, and eventually she gets stabbed with the dagger.
Right. She like falls onto it, I think.
Yeah,
backwards.
and it gets impaled by it.
And Ash is like, well,
he's like, that's it. Everybody's dead, right? Wrong. Scotty.
He's back.
He sits up all Michael Myers style and is a deadite now.
Because Scotty's supposed to be dead, but Scotty doesn't know
that he's supposed to be dead.
Yeah. So he's got to fight. If you're Ash at this point, you just got to be like, oh my God, come on, really?
Yeah.
Leave me alone.
So Cheryl has been down in the cellar.
Yeah.
So she's now escaped. So now we have two deadites versus Ash.
Right.
So Ash gets a gun that was there that was talked about earlier in the movie, shoots Cheryl kind of in the shoulder, and then like once in the face. That's not taking her down. Then he's like full on fist fight with Scott.
Yes. Oh,
and takes his thumbs and pushes him in his eye socket, and just
all this ketchup just starts pouring out. It is.
Give me the fries.
Yeah. It is viscous. It is gross. It is amazing.
Yeah. So that puts Scott down.
Well, it kills him. It stops him temporarily.
Yeah.
I don't know if any of these things are ever truly dead or if they're just kind of stopped for a minute. But
I don't even know.
Yeah, these things are nightmarish. But yeah. There's. I think we missed the scene where he buried Linda and he couldn't chop her up.
Yeah, he went to chop her up. He couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So then he just buried her. Then she comes back.
Yeah, she comes back and like lunges at him and he swings a shovel. It's a Breaking Bad like GoPro shot where it's like you see it's attached to the shovel and you can see it and it chops her head off, which is a really cool shot. But then the head lands and you can clearly tell that they made it land up so that
the actor could talk. Yeah,
right. She could just be underground and talk. It's fine. You do what you can. But yeah, so he decapitates her. She's stopped after this, and then he goes back to the cabin. That's where he's fighting with these two. So he's trying to get the book. He's trying to like get it, but he's being held back by.
I think like a bookcase almost falls on top of him.
Yeah, I think so too.
So he's trying to get that. Scott's got like a hold of his because he's still kicking, even though his eyes are all pushed in and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And Cheryl's going to stab him.
Mm-hmm.
He takes the necklace that he took off of Linda that he gave her.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of like being all this cool stuff, like getting the rays,
trying to refract
and set the book on fire, it's close enough to the fireplace that he like gets an ash ember on it, and pulls the book towards him using the necklace, and it sets it on fire. That, in turn, makes Cheryl and Scotty melt.
Yeah, it looks a lot like Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared, the first one, towards the end of that when things get bizarre and all the characters start rotting and like it's stop motion and their hands are like falling apart. It looks almost exactly like in The Evil Dead, because this is what happens is it's stop motion effects. These bodies are like just disintegrating.
Yeah, the book is even just melting apart. There's
Right.
like all these grits
Yeah.
coming out. It's probably like supposed to be maggots.
Ugh.
There's bugs. There's a snake.
Oh, it's
Ew.
Halloween 3.
Yeah. That's
It's
basically
exactly
what I
Halloween
thought of.
3. Yeah.
So,
But this does ostensibly stop the deadites. Like,
Right.
everything kind of ends. Everybody's dead. Ash is the only one alive, and he's like, "Bah."
the sun's just starting to creep up, and this is when we get another POV, the final one, the one where Sam Raimi's on the bike.
Yeah, Ash is like leaving
rides,
the cabin.
Yeah, rides through the whole cabin, comes out the front, and is supposedly attacking Ash.
Right. Jumps at Ash.
End of
he
story.
screams. That's it. This movie was so good.
It was good. And a lot of people are like, no, only Evil Dead 2.
Well,
and it's like,
yeah,
no.
I get it.
I liked this one.
I liked it too.
I liked the story of this one. And the second one you just have to take for what it is being funny and that type of thing.
Absolutely. Another thing that I kind of think is a staple of a cult classic is something that wasn't successful when it first premiered. This
Yeah,
isn't necessarily
That's
true.
A Christmas Story.
Okay. This isn't necessarily true. There are lots of movies that were big and then became cult classics, but this movie was huge when it opened. Like, everybody really, really enjoyed it. On the Wikipedia page said that it outperformed The Shining in the UK.
Yeah, that's
Which is-
surprising.
Yeah, like
I bet that really stuck in.
Stanley Kubrick's
Yeah, his craw.
his craw. It's funny because that was a Stephen King movie, and Stephen King was one of the biggest proponents for The Evil Dead. Once he saw it at, I think, Cannes Film Festival, he was like,
everyone needs to see
this movie is really, really good. He calls it he did for a while, one of his favorite movies, which I think is really interesting.
Yes. When this movie was getting started, it actually had the working name of Book of the Dead.
Yeah, which I think is maybe a better title. I like Evil Dead, though. I don't know. It's hard to say.
know. It was recommended that it should change because people were thinking that they were going to have to read.
Yeah, they were like, I don't care about books.
They're like, I'm here to see a movie. I don't want to read.
Right, I would read
can
a book
understand.
if it were booked.
But
Yeah, so they changed it. I think one of the titles was like The Evil Dead Men and The Evil Dead Women, and they were like, Evil Dead!
Just chop that off. Just call it Evil Dead.
Yeah, shorten it up. I like Evil Dead better. It's a better title.
It premiered at the Redford Theater in Michigan, which is really cool for us
Hell yeah,
and
represent.
other Michiganders that are...
I guess because either Bruce Campbell or Sam Raimi, somebody had like seen a bunch of horror movies there as a kid and was like, that's where horror movies are, which I really like that. But yeah, this movie was huge. It was an immediate success. It kind of put a lot of attention on these people, and they would go on to like do other projects, most notably Evil Dead 2.
Yeah. I believe at the premiere of either the first one or the second one, they paired with like blood donors.
Oh, right.
Like the blood banks of America and all that good stuff. If you donated blood between, this month and this month or whatever days, like they gave you a ticket to go and see Evil Dead. And they also gave you a pin that said, I bled for Evil Dead.
That is
Which
so
is so cool. I've been looking everywhere to find one of these buttons.
Yeah, I want one of these pins. If you listeners
send it.
Yeah,
you don't need it.
if you have one of these or know where to get one, let us know at Makes It Scary on Twitter. That is where you can find us.
Absolutely. So I just think that's super cool as well.
Absolutely. So the Evil Dead came out in 1981. 6 years later.
Yeah, I'm surprised it took 6 years. I'm glad.
Yeah.
They
Definitely.
took their time with it.
Right. So this movie, it's a follow-up. It had a new writer for this one, another friend of Sam Raimi's, who thought that it should use a more comedic tone.
Yes.
And so brought a lot of slapstick-style humor to this movie and like dark comedy.
Yeah.
And this movie is a classic. The first movie is a classic. This movie is a classic. This is like anything you think of The Evil Dead, you're probably thinking of this one. Yeah. So let's talk about it.
It starts off right away with an animated book and a voiceover.
Yep. It's basically the tape recording from the first one.
Basically. And the book is now called the
Necronomicon Ex Mortis. Yeah. Different name, better name.
Better book.
Better book. It looks really cool. It like does this bubble up thing where it opens its mouth. It looks so
Eats
cool.
the camera.
Yeah. It talks about how the book went missing in 1300 AD, which I find interesting when you consider the third movie.
Mm-hmm. They were smart when they made this one.
Yep.
For sure. Always leave tidbits to make another movie.
Tidbits.
Sprinkle them in there.
Sprinkle in the tidbits. Absolutely. That's what you got to do.
Sprinkle in the bacon bits, too, because those are delicious.
I love bacon bits.
So, they couldn't use the footage from the first movie.
This is so weird.
Because of copyrights, and Sam Raimi didn't own them at the time. So they had to recap the entire first movie again. Like, they had to shoot it again.
Yeah.
It's a much pared down version. We only have Ash and Linda.
Yeah, it's just the two.
A different actress that played Linda. Apparently, the first one was pregnant at the time.
Right.
And couldn't film it. At least there's a reason.
Yeah, and they weren't just like, we'll just get somebody else. Who cares?
Yeah.
I think another reason they reshot this was not just for the film rights, but also because Bruce Campbell looks so much older than he does in the first one.
I don't think he does.
You don't think he does? He looks like a child in the first one.
His face is softer.
Yes, it is.
But not by much.
I think I would believe a different person, honestly.
Nah, I don't believe that.
In the second one, he had very defined, very, very, striking
I think the camera
features.
Was just better.
Yeah, that's part of it, too. This movie looks great compared to the first one.
Anyway, we have another MSU shirt on Linda.
Yep. So yeah, they go to the cabin. Essentially, this time in the first one, I think somebody owned it. Ash owned it or something, or Scotty did. But in this one,
it's just
some random cabin
that they found.
Yeah, that they found and are living
Linda's
in.
like, what if whoever owns the cabin comes back? He's like, they won't.
Nah, don't worry about that. It's like,
and this
they
is
won't.
when we're getting that type of Ash, where it's just like, meh, whatever.
Ash is getting a little cocky. He doesn't go full cock as he does in the third movie, but he's approximately half cock at this point.
He's half cocked.
Yeah. He's zero cock in the first one for sure.
Right. So it recaps the whole thing. We see the new Linda get her head chopped off and buried. Mm-hmm. Which I would do with an MSU person as well.
Yeah, go blue.
So,
go blue. Go blue.
Go blue.
Yep.
I mean, it goes all the way up even until the end, and we get another shot of the Force coming through the cabin. Mm-hmm. And this time, it picks up Ash and carries him even further out into the forest, knocks him against a tree, and then he falls face first into a puddle.
And this is where we start.
Puddle.
Yeah, a deep puddle. This is where we get into the new stuff. I had confused this movie with Silent Night, Deadly Night 2, which is another movie that's mostly recap of the first one.
This is only 14 minutes.
I know, but
not
I didn't.
20 minutes.
I didn't know that, and so when we were watching it, I was like, "Oh, we're already done with the recap," because I had it in my mind that it was half the movie. Because again, we had just talked about. They did just. It was mostly the first.
It was
movie.
the same footage too.
Same
That's what's
footage
bullshit.
in Silent Night.
They had to reshoot all this stuff.
So funny.
So Ash is face down in a puddle.
Yeah.
And he jolts up.
He jolts up, but
he's a deadite.
Oh my god, he looks so cool. The Ash makeup.
This would be an awesome cosplay for somebody.
Oh my god.
You wouldn't be able to see shit because those contacts are fuzzy.
I wonder if they've made better white contacts.
When they're blackout or whole whiteout, your whole eye, you can't see shit.
Mm-hmm. And they couldn't. In these movies, anyone who was wearing these contacts, they were so thick. Bruce Campbell described it as Tupperware. You couldn't see through. Because you can't see the eyes, so you can't see through the eyes.
Right.
So everybody was basically blind.
I mean, I've worn color contacts before. I had to wear them for a show where I had to have blue eyes, and everything had a tinge of blue to it.
For a stage show?
I did.
Who would notice that?
Listen, I was committed to this character, and the character had blonde hair and blue eyes.
Wow. All right.
You were in that show.
Cool.
Whatever.
All right.
For those of you who want to know, because I know you're dying.
You are.
A funny thing happened on the way to the forum. I played Philia.
And I played Hero. That's right. Anyway, this movie. Yeah. I'm going full cock, guys. So yeah, essentially he wakes up, he's a deadite, and because it's morning time right now, he looks into the sun, he kind of freaks out by it, and then it kind of clears out the deadite spirit, and he's human again?
Human again. Yeah.
To be human again. This is never... Even in this movie, it's never even explained that the sunlight...
The sun will kill it.
Right, will get rid of it. And this raises... I said this when we were watching it. This raises so many ethical problems.
Well, there's so many different variations of like what will kill a deadite?
Right.
Do you have to dismember it? Do you have to bury it? Do you have to set it on fire?
Mm-hmm.
Do you just have to get it in the sun?
Yeah.
Like,
but Ash and everybody in these movies are just killing deadites left and right. But this movie argues that 2 times somebody can turn into a deadite and then be turned back
from it,
human. So that means anyone who became a deadite could have been saved, which means they just did murders. I understand. I know. But Ash knew after this one. Whatever. It's not important. These movies aren't really for that, but I just find that interesting. Anyway, he's clear. He goes back into, well, actually, he goes to the car.
Yes.
He tries to escape.
He tries to go again.
Because in this movie, they never tried to go out to the bridge.
Right.
So we basically just see that scene again where he goes to the bridge and it's a claw hand. And
he crashes into something and goes flips out through the hood.
Oh yeah, he's not wearing a seatbelt.
Yeah,
this would kill him.
There's many. I've counted it. There's 5 times in this movie that I went, "No, you're dead."
Yeah, Ash should be dead.
They're absolutely dead,
and not just the supernatural demon stuff. When you crashed your car and go flying and hit head first into a tree. You're dead, son.
Yeah, when a force ghost hits you against a tree and you fall into a puddle for a good minute. You're dead.
Yeah,
There's a bunch of things, and we'll bring them up as we keep going.
So that's he returns back to the cabin because what else are you gonna do? It's also getting late. I got the impression that this was early morning.
Yeah,
and then it's immediately
night
nighttime.
again.
Unless this bridge was super far away.
I don't know.
But yeah, he gets back to the cabin and he's like, "I live here now." And I think this is where something starts chasing him again through the cabin. It's nighttime. He's being chased. The car. That's it. Yes. The car's being chased. There's this really cool shot. We're back at the bridge. We have to back up to the bridge. Because there's this really cool shot where the force that's running towards, chasing everybody in this movie is going after the car. And Ash is jumping into the car, turns it on as the thing is moving up, and it just barely gets out of the way. I imagine that this was the camera, right, running at it. Even in the real world, that's scary because it's going to crash into this car if Bruce doesn't start it and start driving. But he does just in the nick of time, and it's very cool. And then it chases him into the cabin. We get this long shot.
Oh, it's really cool. It's tight corners. Ash is just running through the whole thing.
Trying to get away from this thing.
The camera bursts through 3 different doors.
Yeah. And Ash is slamming them shut. So they're real doors. And then they just go flying down. I saw a few points where there's probably an edit, but it's fine. You don't really care. I thought that not only was this technically impressive, it's a really scary scene because Ash is so...
It's right up on your ass.
Right. He's just barely managing
right up on your ash.
That was... very good. In fact, thank you for listening. We don't need to continue.
We're going to shut it down.
Yep. He managed to escape by hiding in the cellar. Great shot that references the first one. It's a twist. It's a funny twist where Ash is the one hiding and peeking out from the bottom instead of
Cheryl.
The first one.
Absolutely. Linda's body comes back to life.
As it did, but this time it's a lot higher budget. This movie has
this is a
huge
claymation body.
Oh yeah, it's Tim Burton AF.
Yeah, it really is. She's naked and is dancing and then starts attacking Ash. But her head had been chopped off, so her head falls off. He gets her head, and it bites
him.
Yeah, Cheryl's head bites him on the hand.
His right hand.
His right hand man.
So Bruce Campbell's flying all around, bashing the head against the wall and everything. And he falls to the ground, and he turns and looks at the camera, and then stands up and runs out. And then in post-production... They added,
how dare you call Bruce out like this?
They added Bruce Campbell saying, "Work shed." He so clearly doesn't
never moves his mouth.
and Bruce Campbell's when he's on the ground, he's screaming because he's getting his hand bit. So he's like, work shed. It's such an out of place line.
You're right. How dare you call him out like that?
You and I both
That's
cracked up. It makes me laugh. I love these movies. I have to poke fun.
So he goes out into the work shed. He puts Linda's head into a vice.
This frees his hand.
And he's like, "I'm fucking chopping you up."
Yeah, but he can't quite. No, he can't quite do it yet.
Yeah, he goes to do it. And it turns back into Linda's real head and is like, "Don't kill me, Ash."
Oh, right.
But then her body...
This is where the chainsaw comes in.
Comes screaming in. The body has the chainsaw.
This is a good jump scare because it bursts through the door, chainsaw blazing, hint to our next episode. And it's attacking him.
Yep. It goes to attack him. For some reason, he he grabs a crowbar and pushes it, which I think that chainsaw would just saw it right through that crowbar. But it turns it to where the chainsaw then lands
falls.
on Linda's body.
Hell yeah.
And starts cutting it in half with all this black blood just spewing
there's bile
everywhere.
This is gross. This movie rules. I love it so much.
Ash then picks up the chainsaw because that body's useless.
Right.
And in silhouette, you can see him like chopping Linda's head in half.
Blood goes flying everywhere.
He goes back into the house. He's covered in shit.
Yeah. He's like, oh, I'm tired. He hasn't slept in like 2 days.
Oh, like 3 days.
Yeah, and it's going to continue.
And he like looks.
Ash better drink some coffee.
He looks in the mirror and he's like, I'm okay. I'm okay, which is exactly what I'd be doing. Which I think is literally what I said when I was in my car accident, like hanging in the seatbelt. I was like, I'm okay, don't pass out.
Yeah. He says, yeah, I'm okay, I'm fine.
And it himself, through the mirror,
his reflection, jumps out.
Grabs him by the shoulder. He's like, we just sawed our girlfriend in half with a chainsaw. Does that sound fine to you? And like starts strangling him.
Sounds great. Now I'm a single man.
But it's all just kind of, shut up.
What? That's what he said.
But it turns out he's like almost like strangling himself. It was kind of all in his head.
He's hallucinating. But then, this is where we get arguably one of the greatest scenes in this or any of the movies, or any movie of all time. Because the hand that got bit starts to turn into a deadite. Now, the rules for changing into a deadite are very inconsistent, not even just from movie to movie, internally in a movie. They're not very consistent. In this movie, just his hand starts to turn into a deadite, which means Bruce Campbell, Ash, is there fine, but his hand is a deadite and is attacking him. And so Bruce Campbell is basically running around this cabin with his hand going after him and attacking him and doing all this crazy stuff, just like grabbing plates and like smashing them against his head and everything.
He eventually like passes out because he's been hit in the head so many times.
Yeah.
But his hand is still leeching forward to grab a cleaver to kill Ash, presumably.
Yeah. But there's a great jump scare.
Yeah, but lo and behold, Ash like wakes up, grabs another knife with his left hand.
Oh, you know what? This is a callback to the first movie where he was pretending to be asleep.
No.
But every time the hand looked back to Ash, he closed his eyes. He was reaching for that knife.
He grabbed a knife, stabs his own hand, and he's like, gotcha.
He's like, who's laughing now?
And he picks up the chainsaw that's right next to him. He starts it.
Say
it. Like, who's laughing now? And just...
What does he do? Yes! He chops his own hand off.
So much blood.
Splatters his face in blood. Iconic shot, iconic scene. This movie rules.
I think before that is when the house starts laughing.
I don't think so, because it's right after the hand was like running through the walls.
Okay, so his hand... He like traps it. He puts a coffee can over top of it, and then he puts a book on it.
A Farewell to Arms.
Yeah,
which is good. That's good. Yeah, that's good.
So he's like at peace with losing that hand. I would not be.
Well, this movie doesn't take itself seriously enough to be like, I lost a hand. It's mostly just like, all right, time to fight this hand, because it escapes and it's still running around.
Right. So he goes to shoot it.
Yeah, he's got the shotgun. It becomes part of his like iconic look as the shotgun.
He goes to shoot it. The house starts bleeding, which is what it did in the first movie. I don't think we talked about that at all. That's a really good scene in the first movie when all the outlets like start bleeding.
Oh, yeah, when he goes in the basement and like the light bulb is filling with blood and the projector. Yeah, those are all really good. I mean, there's not much to it other than that. It's very artistic.
The house is kind of just like bleeding.
Yeah.
So this is a callback to that in the second one where now the house is like spewing blood at him like a fire hose.
Right.
And then it stops. He goes to sit in a chair, he falls down. Okay, this is when.
Oh, yeah.
I laugh every time.
I think this is creepy.
We've watched this movie a couple of times. There's a stuffed deer mount above the fireplace, and it doesn't have any irises either, so it has these white eyes, and it looks right at Ash.
It like whips its hair back and forth.
It's like Disney on crack. It's just like, it just starts laughing at him for falling.
Yeah,
which
absolutely.
I would too.
Well, it was a good stunt fall for sure. But then everything in the apartment starts to giggle and have this heroic. Did I say apartment?
Yeah.
Ooh, Freudian slip. Everything in the cabin, starts to laugh at him, including Ash himself. He starts to laugh
because
too.
he's just like, I'm in on this joke.
Yeah.
He almost looks terrified while laughing, but
Kinda.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah. But then it ends when he hears a noise outside and immediately shoots. Now, I'm not a gun person. In general, I don't like guns. This is one of the big reasons why, because he hears something. Obviously, he's high stress scenario. He's like, I'm being attacked by demons left and right.
Lack of sleep, lack of food, lack of water.
Lack of oxygen because he's been laughing so much.
Right.
He shoots right out the front door, and it's a person. He doesn't kill him. We haven't talked about this. So the Professor Nobi,
not Kenobi.
Not Kenobi, even though there's a silent K, so it could be. He brought this stuff, and he was working with his daughter, Annie, and her boyfriend, Ed, right. And also his wife, Henrietta, is there, but so that was like we saw that earlier in the movie. But now Annie has come back to the cabin to find out where her father is because he's been missing, and mother. And brought Ed. And there's also like these two couples.
Jake and Bobby Jean.
I don't care for these two.
Yeah, they're really nothing. They just give more bodies.
Well, also Ed is nothing too. Ed might be the most cardboard cutout of a character. He contributes nothing except for I guess we could. I don't know when we should skip forward because like they show up at the cabin. They're there.
We thought Annie was...
Oh, right. We thought Annie was Christine Baranski, who you probably know as
Martha May Whovier.
Betty!
Hi! Oh, good night, Betty!
Yeah. She's incredible. I thought this was her. She has a very similar face. It's not her. I was bummed out. But things start to get a little weird.
Well, they think that Ash has killed her parents.
Right, because there's like all this blood all over the place.
So they kind of throw him into the cellar. This is another point where I'm like, he went headfirst down those stairs and crashed through them. I'm like, you're dead.
Right. He landed like neck first.
Yeah,
it's not even...
literally. So they trap him down there.
They find the tape recordings, which, by the way, Ash had found in the recap, and it said some of this stuff, unimportant. They play it and they hear the next part of it, which is like, I read those words.
Dr. Kenobi says he read those words.
Dr. Kenobi, yeah. He read those words and this demon attacked his wife. His wife then attacked him and tried to kill him. He had to kill his wife, but couldn't.
He couldn't.
Oh, he couldn't dismember her,
so he just buried her in the cellar.
Right, which, guess who's down there right now?
Henrietta.
Ash. Oh yeah. Henrietta and Ash. So Henrietta shows up.
Deadite Henrietta.
She shows up and she pops out and she's like, I'm going to swallow your soul.
She's a scary son of a bitch.
She's very scary.
That son of a bitch is brothers of Sam Raimi.
This is Ted Raimi who plays Henrietta. Very, very interesting character. I don't particularly find this that scary, but there's a thing that Henrietta does where she turns into like stop motion, like his squishy head thing.
Yeah, like a worm.
That's creepy.
Yeah, that's scary.
I don't like that. I mean, I like it, but I don't like it. It's attacking Bruce. They decide to save him. The guys upstairs decide to save him by grabbing him head first.
Yeah.
And pulling him straight up out of the cabin.
Out of the cellar.
Thank you. So yeah, there's kind of a fight scene. They're able to like push Henrietta down, or does it come up and is fighting them now?
I think they like trap it down back into the cellar.
Yeah.
But immediately Ed turns it. I almost think it's just like weak-souled.
Yeah.
Or weak-minded.
The less of a personality you have, the more susceptible you are to deadite behavior.
Because it's like, how would Ash not have gotten...
Right.
Deadited. Well, I mean, he did, but like he got out of it.
Because he has a very strong character, so he's just like, I'm fine. Meanwhile, Ed, this is my favorite deadite design of all of these movies.
It reminds me very much of Ghostbusters 2 when they're in the courtroom scene and it's like the Scolari brothers or whoever they are. It looks exactly like them. Mm-hmm. It's very scary.
It is. It's like, it's all mouth for days. Anyway, Ash attacks him. They fight him. Ash chops his head off, part of his head off. Ed's blood is green.
Yeah. What
kind of sense does that make?
It makes sense when you're trying to not get an R rating.
Yeah. Didn't work.
I was going to say, a lot of people do this. There's a vampire movie that Quentin Tarantino did. I can't remember the name of it now.
From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yes. He tried to do the same thing.
It was like yellow, I think, or something.
Yeah, it was like
green.
bile green, yellow. Yeah. It doesn't work.
No.
We know what it's supposed to be.
Right. So there's a brief respite where they're like, all right, so what are we going to do now? They have the pages, the the tape recorder says that the key to stopping the deadites is in the missing pages that, oh, by the way, Annie brought some missing pages with her. That's why she was like away. She was trying to find these pages. And they talk about this figure from the past dressed in a blue shirt with a chainsaw hands.
He is said to be the hero from the sky and delivers you from the deadites.
I am a huge sucker for like prophecy in movies.
I know you are.
Whenever they're like, hey, especially the earlier the better. Game of Thrones, or at least the books, do this a lot, where they're like, oh, I sense a wedding, but it's very red, and that happens like book 1, and you're like, what does that mean? And then the red wedding happens. You're like, oh my god,
that's it.
That's what that means. So this was my favorite part of all the movies. All those things that I said were my favorite part, not so. This. So yeah, Jake is the character who
he's the hick.
He's the hick, yeah, and he and Bobby Jean like runs out because she's freaking out too.
Yeah, she like can't handle it
and
anymore.
Jake is like, well, we need to go find her. Everybody else is like, we don't care about her. She's not a character. And Jake is like, she damn well is now. You stupid pages, tossing those in the basement.
Yeah, with Henrietta.
Right.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks. He knows that those are the only things. Wait, if you want to save Bobby Jean or whatever, or Bobby Joe, use the pages. Yeah, but whatever. He throws them down. He's like, we gotta go save her. So they all go out there. Ash gets deadited again.
Right, he turns into a deadite.
Bobby Jean dies. She gets hit by a tree.
Yeah, they literally just throw her character away.
Right. Well, she wasn't doing much.
They could have made her, that's what I'm saying, they could have made her a really cool character, but they didn't. They just like throw her to the wind or whatever.
Yeah. At least they don't do like the rape scene in this one.
Yes, they don't.
They just kill her. So yeah, the deadite attacks Jake and throws him against a tree too. He also should be dead.
He's trying to gather all this stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Annie's kind of like picks up the pace as the main character for a little while, where she gets the dagger and she's like, I'm gonna stab Ash because he's a deadite. Right, that's a bad Ash. I already made that joke. I think okay, sorry. So yeah, but she ends up stabbing Jake instead. Not too worried about it. Don't care about this guy. Ash is still outside, hasn't gotten back into the cabin. Annie's like dragging Jake's body over. Which is just doing more damage. Yeah, really. Over and like drops him kind of near the cellar. I'm sure she didn't mean to. She was just trying to get him into the house more. Right. Henrietta like pops up out of the cellar. Hello! And like, oh, lunch. And like lunchtime. And like, delicious snacks for Henrietta. And literally just drags Jake down. Oh! And he's like pulling at his feet and this geyser of blood. Johnny Depp in Nightmare on Elm Street. Just like pool of blood, just mountains, oceans of blood just pour out. It's awesome. Have I said that I love this movie yet? Because I feel like that's not clear enough. Ash gets into the cabin. He did. He's a deadite still. Annie got knocked out somehow. Yeah. And next to her is Linda's pendant. Right. Magnifying glass. By the way, the necklace, the part of it, is in the shape of a skull. The chain. Right, thank you. It's in the shape of a skull. Like every time that it's on a surface, it's in the shape of a skull. It's just a cute little Easter egg. Yeah, it's in the first movie. It's in this one. I think it's in the remake as well. I think it's in the remake. I don't know about Army of Darkness. I don't know if this necklace is in that movie. I don't know. But the necklace heals him. So that's two different ways. Ash is just like super strong against it. Yeah. I'm assuming nobody else could be changed back to human. Right. Annie wakes up. Yeah. She tries to kill Ash, and he's like, I'm fine. I told you I'm fine. Yeah. You and I do this all the time, where I'm like, I said I was all right. And you're like, no, you tell me what's wrong. Yeah. So they're like, all right, well, we need to go get those pages, but I don't have a hand. But I do have a space for a chainsaw arm. And this movie isn't quite badass enough. So badass enough, thank you. So they go out to the shed, the tool shed, the work shed again. And work shed. they Adam Driver, they got him. They got him in just to say this. He was what? Two? Maybe. And he was like, work shed. Can I go now? Yeah. So they outfit his hands that's missing. His stump. With a chainsaw. This is ridiculously awesome. Like, it's stupid, but in the best way. He immediately uses it to saw off the shotgun. Sawed-off shotguns are always cool. I don't know why. Because they make a bigger boom. They do make a bigger boom. It's a bigger boomstick. That's for sure. It's a boomstick. So they're ready, and he gets a chainsaw arm, and he says, groovy. Because this movie's cool, and it knows it. Goes into the basement. Yep. Gets the pages, gets all of them. And he throws them up. I don't think you could throw pages up. They're wet though, so I guess they're heavier. He's like
getting back up the stairs. Henrietta gets it,
Grabs him.
drags him under. He like,
Yeah, there's a fight scene under there. They end up getting upstairs somehow. Henrietta's up there too, and she's in full giraffe mode with her neck. He chops her neck off. Oh, by the way, not a lot of time is given to the fact that this Henrietta is Annie's mother, and this would be super effed to go through.
there is some points where
They
like she
do.
turns back into regular Henrietta, and
Oh,
is,
to
like,
try to trick
is
her.
like singing to Annie, and Annie's like, I gotta let her out. And Ash is like, nope, that's
Nope,
not your
don't
mom.
Yeah, a recurring theme throughout these movies is the Deadites attempting to fool people into thinking they're normal again, but not keeping up the ruse long enough to actually go through with it because people are like about to free them and then they start laughing or something. And I have this theory that they have to like hold on to the trick, you know? They have to like make them it's like if you were to like do a pull-up, you could only do it for so long, and they always do it and they just don't have enough time to go
Yeah,
through with it. That's
maybe.
kind of my headcanon.
Henrietta Deadite dies.
Yep. Good. Hated her.
Annie is now speaking the incantation to open the wormhole that will suck all the evil back out.
And she
She gets
she's
through
doing it.
most of it
Mm-hmm.
and gets stabbed
No!
in the back with the Kandarian dagger
That sucks.
by Ash's hand.
God damn that bastard of a hand. I think this is really cool because it like ties in so many different things from the movie. But it does suck that she dies because I like this character a lot. But
Yeah, she's dead.
yeah,
Boom.
she's out. She does manage to like say the final thing of the incantation, and there's this tree spirit that bursts through, this
Monster.
head that comes through, and Ash sticks the
Chainsaws it.
chainsaw hand. Blue blood this time.
I can't. That's a bad show too.
Yeah. Okay.
It's not bad, but
Right.
it's not great. My mom watches that show all the
Yeah,
time.
yeah. So this portal opens. Ash gets sucked in too. So does the car. They land. It's medieval times now. There's a deadite that's flying. Ash kills it with his shotgun, and everybody's like, "Wow, you did it! All hail the savior who can free us from the deadites."
Who said that?
I don't know.
Sam Raimi.
Was that Sam Raimi?
That's the cameo of Sam Raimi.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Good on him. Got
Yeah.
in there.
Like, he has delivered us from the deadites!
This is the
Huzzah!
this is the spark that his acting career starts
Yeah.
in. This cameo.
I wonder
from-
if he's done anything
don't
else.
think
He's
so.
probably in like all his movies
I'm sure he
at
is.
some point.
Like Peter Jackson.
But so Ash is just standing there. He's like, no!
No, because he's in the past. This is not what you want.
There's no running water.
Right, yeah. Amazing shot of him. Like he's got like the chainsaw hand, he's got the shotgun, his arms are splayed out, and he's standing on this car, and he's like, no, as all these like pitchforks are going up and down and everything. It is an incredible shot. That movie ends.
Indeed, it does.
That's
and
Evil Dead 2.
And it stays dead for a couple of years.
Yep. Then we get Medieval Dead.
That's what I choose to call it.
I refuse to believe that it's anything other than this. That's such a better title.
I know. And for some reason, they couldn't.
Yeah, the studio,
Yeah.
Universal. This movie was produced by Universal, which is a huge step up from like the indie scope of the first two. But they made them change the name. I think this was a misstep. For one thing, a lot of people didn't know this was an Evil Dead
Yes,
movie.
it's because it's called Army of Darkness.
Right, that's what it's called. And this
Yeah.
movie came out in 91? 92.
You know, the good year of 92.
Oh, yeah. That is a good year. Yeah, so this movie, it again starts with another recap.
A third Linda.
A third Linda.
A third MSU shirt.
A third MSU shirt, a third Necronomicon. We do get a little hint of Ash's life before all this.
Yes, he used to work at S-Mart.
S-Mart. Shop smart. Shop S-Smart.
S-Mart.
He's got this funny Superman swoop in his
Yeah,
hand.
he does. Or the Elvis swoop.
Oh, yeah. And he does play. Bruce Campbell plays Elvis in a movie later.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe before this. I don't know. But so there's another recap of the movie. It's very short. It's just like, I went out to this cabin with my girlfriend. Deadites happened. There was a portal. I had to chop off my hand, get it replaced with a chainsaw, as you do. And then I got sucked back through time. Now I'm here. In this version, they think that he's like a witch or something.
He's part of Duke Henry the Red.
Duke
which
Henry
is
the
just
Red.
The rival to the
Lord
Knights.
Arthur. This has nothing to do
Not
with
King
King Arthur.
Arthur.
I believe this is not that character.
This is not.
It is
this
not.
Is not King Arthur.
But essentially, the premise of this movie is at some point Ash gets a tiny little mini version of Ash jump down his throat, which then pops out to become a second Ash. And this
An evil
an
Ash.
evil
A
Ash,
bad Ash.
bad Ash. And this character tries to lead an army of just kind of skeleton, an army of darkness, if you will, to get the Necronomicon, because that's how it will get ultimate power. And Ash... Well,
because Ash stole it.
Right.
Because he needs it to get back to home. The future.
Right.
We have a couple of characters that are interesting and worth talking about. We have Miss Honey.
Miss Honey! My girl, Miss Honey. I love you,
From
Miss
Matilda.
Honey. From Matilda.
What's her name? You don't even know.
It's an unusual one.
Oh, no, I have it. It's written down. Her name is Embeth Davids.
Embeth Davids.
Yes.
You have to get electrically shocked when you say that name. Unusual name.
Plays Sheila.
Yeah,
also an unusual name for the
Shayla.
medieval times.
Unless it's in Australia, then it's fine. But yeah, her brother worked for the army and he died. So she's at first angry at Ash for his death because she's like,
you're part of the Henry the Red.
Yeah, you're part of the enemy. But then she's like, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to. Can you ever forgive me? And Ash, to his credit, is like, first you try to kiss me. Then first you try to kill me, then you try to kiss me. Get out of here. Which I like, because I think that most people in his position would be like, oh, now you want some of this.
Yeah.
Later on, he does acquiesce, and they start smooching. I'll say it. I'll just say it. Smooching.
You were smooching with my brother. Yeah. Evil Ash.
Best scene in the movie.
There's a scene before when they first see Ash, and the wizard or the wise one is like, this is the prophecy. Don't you see? He was in all our books, and he's come to deliver us. And then Lord Arthur's like, no, kill him. And I'm just like, now ain't that a bitch?
Yeah.
Now ain't that ignoring all of the scientists.
Yep. And wizards and scientists, not the same thing. But in medieval times, this is who you turn...
the wise man.
Right. This is who you turn to. They were the ones who studied things. So these essentially were the scientists of their time.
Right.
So here we have the administration, the people in charge not listening to the scientists and making the wrong decision.
Of trouble.
Yeah. God damn it.
And then later on, Ash kind of shows that he's worthy because he defeats a deadite.
Right.
And with his boomstick.
Boomstick.
Nobody's ever seen anything like this before. They've also never seen a chainsaw.
Yeah, but they don't care about that as much, because that's kind of just like a sword.
And that's an iconic line. This is my boomstick. And everyone's so scared.
Him shilling for S-Mart in this moment is so good.
This is great.
This little baby was manufactured in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Woo!
Go Blue.
Present.
And then he's like, so you can pick it up at any local S-Mart. Shop smart. Shop S-Smart. You got that? I love his advertisement for his store in the medieval past. This movie does have a lot of great moments, like when he goes to get the Necronomicon.
Yeah, there's 3 books.
There's 3 books. He's told by the wizard that when he gets them, he has to say
the incantation.
Klatu, Veratu, Niktu. Verata, Niktu. Or Nikto. Doesn't matter.
Yes, it does. It literally does.
Here's the thing, though, because they say it different times in the movie, but when they get to the book, first of all...
He's like, I know your damn words.
Yeah, I know your damn words. I remember them. Hot-headed man.
Why he had to go by himself, I have no idea.
Yeah, why not the wizard come with him? That's a good point. I don't know. It's funnier, though, because...
I love it. It's my favorite part of this movie.
This legitimately makes me laugh. He gets to the books. He sees them.
He's like, all right, I got to say the magic words. And then he's like, what
Klatu, Verata.
Verata. Just coughs it out.
A brief pause. This type of joke has been done so many times before. We've seen before where people are like, oh, I don't remember the thing, so I'm going to cough through it. I'm going to stumble my way through it.
Yeah.
The idea of trying to trick the godlike demon gods of the world by coughing through the ritualistic phrase that you have to say is so funny to me. I love that. That is the biggest laugh in this entire series for me is him doing that. He gets it. He brings it back.
But he's woken the dead because he's taken it.
He took it, right. It's kind of like in it's again like Aladdin, where he picks it up and
it's very much
causes
like Aladdin.
all this destruction. Yeah. So he brings it back, and then he's like, hey, everybody, I know that I could use this book to just go back to my time, but I made a promise. I'm going to help you guys. Well, this was part of his deal, was like, I'll get the book, I'll help you guys defeat the evilness.
And then you send me back.
Right, and then you send me back. So, and then, by the way, Sheila gets taken by the deadites. There's a huge fight scene.
Yeah, huge war.
It's basically
against the dead and evil or Bad Ash.
Right.
And the other people.
It is exactly like Game of Thrones, because you have an army of the dead being commanded by this big evil thing that's not exactly a zombie, but can control zombies. And the two armies have to team together to fight the evil army. It is exactly like Game of Thrones, including when they finally defeat the evil Ash leader, everybody else just gives up and runs away. In Game of Thrones, spoiler alert, they just die. They just fall to the ground dead. But in this, they all run away. So essentially the same thing.
So they've won the war.
Yep.
They're going to send Ash back.
Mm-hmm.
The wizard or wise man makes a potion. Now, we don't know. We kind of had conflicting views on what this potion did. You think it just like opens a portal and sends him directly back to his time.
Not exactly. I think
But he has to say the magic words.
Right. There were two different versions of this movie, and so that's where it gets a little confusing.
Okay, so I think that's in the final cut, that it's presumed that a portal will open and he'll walk through it.
Yes, because that's what happens.
Right. But then originally it was that he would sleep.
Yeah, he would drink this potion, it would put him to sleep.
And that he would wake up at his appropriate time.
Right, like Rumpelstiltskin.
Right.
But he, Rip Van Winkle, rather.
I was like, what? What book did you read about?
It's the other R word.
About Rumpelstiltskin. I will spin this straw into gold.
And wake up in 1,000 years. Thank you. No, but in the original one, he was supposed to sleep. He drank too much of it.
Yes.
And slept in the future.
And woke up to a deadite apocalypse.
Yeah, which is a really neat idea for a sequel.
Which is where I think the TV show goes.
You think so? We haven't seen anything.
I have no idea. That's my guess is where it goes.
Okay. But then they thought that was too bleak, so they reshot a new ending where instead of the potion, he just says the words again and goes through a portal. But he's telling the story later on to Ted Raimi again.
Yeah, who works at S-Mart.
He's back there. He goes back to his job. He's got a chainsaw hand, or he's missing a hand.
Yeah.
Whatever.
What are you gonna do?
But he was like, yeah, I might have misspoke the words again.
Yeah, who cares? I'm here.
I'm here now. But a deadite attacks him in the store. He kills it. And then he kisses this girl. I don't think it's Linda. No, it's not, because she's dead.
Yeah.
But it's this girl, and he's like, hail to the king, baby.
Yeah, give me some sugar. That's like another line of his
Right.
as
He
well.
said that earlier, yeah.
So that's it for Bruce Campbell in the movies.
Yeah, right. That's kind of where the series lied dormant for a while until they remade it.
2013. This movie is scary. I'll say it. It's scary.
Yes, it is. This movie is not a slapstick comedy. It's not even campy like the original one.
Right.
It is
just
a scary
movie. It is not in any
movie.
way tied to the original Evil Dead.
Except for like the people being possessed by demons, and there's like a kind of apocalyptic threat.
Right.
I think it's supposed to take place in the same universe, and it's like
maybe
after the events of the first one, but it's never explicitly clear.
Right. We have a whole new group of people.
Yep, all new names. There's no Ash in this movie.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
We have our main character, David.
Yep.
He's taking his girlfriend, Natalie, up to their family cabin. They haven't been there in a while since his mom died. His mom was in psychiatric care and had died a few years prior.
Right.
They're going up there because his sister, Mia...
Not Maya.
Not Maya. Mia. Is
addicted
to heroin.
Heroin, yeah. And they want to get her clean. They want to kind of like cold turkey withdrawals.
They have a couple of friends. One is Olivia. She's a nursing student.
Yes.
So she's going to be like medically watching over Mia because she's going to go through withdrawal. She might harm herself to like get us to take her away. Like she's really like, listen, David, you weren't here for these last couple attempts. Like this isn't pretty.
Right.
They also have their friend Eric, who has been their friend forever.
I think this is Olivia's, maybe, is that her boyfriend? I thought they were together.
I was going to say, I don't really know. He's there too. He's just kind of a nerd.
Kind of. Yeah, this movie, I like this movie a lot, in part because none of these characters are shitty in the way that a lot of like modern horror movies, all the characters, none of them are good.
Yeah.
These characters are literally here to help their friend. Like that's immediately a noble cause.
I think this is a great way to keep them in the cabin.
Absolutely, because at first the only one seeing weird stuff is Mia, and they're not believing her because
she's going through withdrawal.
Right.
Like, people everybody does something different.
Right. And they
when
know
they're going through withdrawal.
And they know that she's trying to get away from this cabin, presumably to do more heroin. But for her, it's like, there's demons here.
No, there's demons here.
we got to get got.
So she starts to falter like almost immediately.
Yeah.
She steals the car.
Oh my God. This actor who plays Mia is amazing.
Yeah.
Because she plays so many different layers. She's like suffering withdrawals, but she also knows there's demons and is like freaking
so
out.
scared, yeah.
She's really good.
She steals the car.
Yeah.
She crashes it into a lake.
Mm-hmm.
And then
demon attacks her.
I was going to say this demon is attacking her. Unfortunately, we do get a tree rape
Kind
scene.
of. It's not the exact same. I think this is mostly just to be like, this is her getting infected, possessed, but it's definitely sexualized, and I don't like it.
So they get her back to the cabin.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, something fucking reeks in here.
Yeah,
it smells, and I can't stand it anymore.
Oh, there's a dog in this movie named Grandpa.
Yeah, that's so cute that they name him Grandpa.
Yeah, that's a funny name.
But
right.
They find him later. He's dead. It's presumed that like Mia
possessed or going through withdrawals
killed the dog.
Killed it. It's very sad. So
Fuck that shit.
Yeah, that makes David like mad at her.
Right, but they go in the cellar and there's all these dead cats that are hanging.
Yeah.
Because there was a group of almost like squatters that came and did this ritual.
Yeah.
And burnt this woman that we see at the beginning of
there was a cold open.
And that she was possessed as well. They find the Necronomicon. Mm-hmm. That's not what I think they call it at all.
I don't think so. But yeah, they do a really good job in this movie of kind of like hiding the Necronomicon because it's tied up in a bag, but it's also got like this barbed wire around it, which Eric has to like
fuck you, Eric.
Rip open. And
Eric, you're the reason all this bad shit happened
literally,
in this movie.
He's the reason everything bad happens.
It's all your fault.
He starts flipping through it. There's all these warnings. Don't read this. Leave this book alone. Throw it out.
Yeah, it's like burn the bitch, all this other stuff.
And he's just like, this is probably fine.
I'm going to say it.
And not only that, they've scratched out the actual words so you can't say it. So he like lays a paper out, does the graphite thing, and he can read them. He says it. This awakens the demon. It attacks Mia. I think this is before she runs out in the car.
So everybody else is out in the living room. Mm-hmm. Mia's presumably sleeping because Olivia had sedated her.
Right.
She comes out. She's got the gun.
Yeah.
That they keep just at the cabin because apparently that's what you do.
Mm-hmm.
And she like shoots basically right next to David. He gets some like shrapnel in his arm.
Yeah. And they're like, we got to take it out. And we're like, no, you don't.
So Olivia's like wrestling with Mia, and Mia gets Olivia onto the floor and is like standing over top of her and just barfs so much.
Oh yeah.
They say it's blood. I don't think it's blood. It doesn't look like blood.
Right. It's very gross. It's very like just thick.
Orange viscous.
Kinda, yeah.
It makes me kind of nauseous just talking about it. I hate vomit so much. Just vomits like all of this right into Olivia's face, and like Olivia like kicks her, and the cellar door was open. She rolls down into the cellar. They slam her in there.
That's where you get her in the cellar. Yeah,
she's just acting crazy. Mm-hmm. So they're like, no.
Yeah.
We're not doing this.
Right.
Olivia then goes to like clean herself off because like
mm-hmm. She's in the bathroom. The mirror, we get another classic mirror closing.
Yeah, it closes. She sees herself and she's like cut her face open in the mirror.
Right.
So then she like jumps out of it and she goes to walk away, and then all of a sudden she's like stunned.
Yeah, she's frozen
by what presumably would be like a force demon.
Kinda, yeah.
And whatever. And she pisses herself. Yeah. It's kind of scary.
Oh, yeah.
And then Eric is like, what the hell? Like, Olivia, we need your help out here or whatever.
Right.
And he like goes in there. It's completely dark. She's in the bathroom. And you hear this like, it's sick. Mm-hmm. It's absolutely sick. You just hear this like this sawing sound. He like flips on the light. She's like sawing her face off.
Right. She doesn't quite
She has like her cheek.
Right. She has almost like a Joker kind of thing.
Yeah. She stands up and she starts attacking Eric. She grabs like a syringe and like stabs him in the face like a bunch.
She throws him against the mirror or stabs him with the mirror or something. So he's got like this shard sticking out of his thing. He's got this needle sticking out.
Yeah, the needle breaks off right under his eye, and he like pulls it out.
Luckily, not in the eye, because that would give me the heebie-jeebies, but no.
So he beats her with a piece of the sink or whatever.
Right. He kills her.
Yeah, just bashes her brains in.
Right, which is scary.
And everyone's like, what happened? And he's like, she attacked me,
Right.
is what happened. And so now it's kind of like, I think what I read from this book is happening because like
Eric's like, whoops, I made an oopsie.
yeah. So then Mia really starts to turn into that deadite.
Yeah, the classic.
And she's like,
she's taunting him.
She's almost tormenting Natalie.
Oh yeah.
More likely because like David had taken Eric out to like tend to his wounds that he had.
Mm-hmm.
So then it's just Natalie in there with Mia in the cellar, and you know they do the classic like, oh no, I'm fine. You know, I'm sorry I freaked out or whatever. She goes down there. This is where we get this nasty scene.
Yeah. So
Natalie had like picked up a box cutter.
Mia's attacking her.
Yeah, and she goes to cut her, but like completely misses or gets herself or like nicks herself or whatever. Mia like grabs the box cutter, lifts it all the way up, and just licks it and completely slices her tongue in half.
Yeah,
it's graphic.
There was a scene earlier where she like burns herself in the shower. Mm-hmm. Neither of these two things seem to stick. Like, she's not scalded anymore. Her tongue later seems to be normal. So
yeah, these are just, like, gross things to, like, almost scare you.
Yeah.
So she also bites Natalie's hand.
Right.
And Natalie gets up. They slam Mia back into the cellar. Mm-hmm. So Natalie's just, like, in the kitchen. Earlier we had seen she had, like, Chekhov's meat carver.
Yeah, meat carver.
Electric meat carver. She's sitting in the kitchen. She starts to feel that her hand's like becoming possessed.
To her credit, she goes a little Bruce Campbell. She's like, her hands twitching out, and it's just her doing it.
This is the scene that's super scary to me because like Mia's like looking out of the cellar and she's like, "Bitch, if you cut that hand off, I'll fucking kill you," because she wants her to be like completely consumed by it.
Yeah.
And Natalie's like, fuck that shit. And she just like wails on her arm.
She goes full sauce. Is it 6 with the woman who does that?
And like pretty much gets all the way through and then it cuts away.
Yeah.
David and Eric come back in and Natalie's like, she bit me in the hand. She's like faced away from him.
Right.
She's like, Mia bit me in the hand, but I'm feeling a whole lot better now. She like turns and her arm just like falls off.
It's awesome.
It's so nasty.
It
she
is.
Almost immediately becomes a deadite.
Yeah, it didn't work. That's the thing that sucks.
And this is where we get the nail gun.
Yeah, she
starts
attacking him with the nail gun.
Eric, of course, poor Eric.
Eric is all right. He stabbed by a glass shard, stabbed by a needle, riddled with nails. Poor guy.
Yeah. Later on, he gets hit with a box cutter again. Like, it's just bad.
He's not looking good.
She then picks up a crowbar and starts beating Eric with it. But David had gotten the gun back and shoots Natalie's other arm off.
Yes, yeah. So now she's like 2 missing arms. It looks awesome. And then she falls to the ground.
She dies.
Yeah. Okay. Whoa.
So Eric is well enough to tell David, like, we got to bury the bodies. We got to burn the bodies. We got to
decapitate or like total dismemberment, which I guess is why Natalie fell, because like both of her arms got cut off or something.
Right.
And David's not about this. He's like,
I can't. My sister's in there.
Right.
Like, she's still my sister. And Eric's like,
that's what I'm saying.
But
there's a detail where in the book it says that once this thing is awakened, it wants to consume 5 human souls. And if it does that, it will awaken this terrifying beast, this entity.
The abomination.
The abomination, right.
So it's claimed 2.
Mm-hmm.
Olivia and Natalie.
Yep.
So David's like, I can't kill my sister. And Eric's like, you better figure it out.
Right.
So David kind of starts like MacGyvering some equipment.
Mm-hmm.
He like grabs a car battery. He's like strapping some stuff up to it. And we don't really like know what his plan is.
Yeah.
He goes down into the basement. He gets in a altercation with Mia, who's trying to kill him, obviously. Eric stumbles down there to help him.
Oh, yeah.
And knocks Mia out enough for David to sedate her.
Eric is like just stumbling through at this point.
He then, it was his last dish effort, Eric dies.
Yeah.
He died and is left in the cellar.
Right. It's rude, but I guess you have more important things to worry about.
David takes Mia upstairs, digs a grave, puts her in it, and starts to bury her basically alive because she does wake up.
Yeah.
And this scene is really awful because she's back to being like normal Mia. And she's just like, why do you hate me, David? And like just starts pulling all this guilty shit on him. But it's not really Mia, but it is.
That was another moment where I'm like, this is exactly what Jody and I are like. Why do you hate me, David?
Why do you hate me so much? Apparently they like buried this actress alive.
Yeah, what the hell? Why do they keep doing these weird bad things?
How you would ever do that?
Right, it doesn't make sense. I think they just meant part of her was in the dirt, like she was actually there.
And he had to like throw dirt on her to like get into the headspace or whatever.
Yeah, something.
He completely buries her. You can kind of hear her heartbeat, and then it just stops.
Yeah.
He quickly unburies her, and that's what the car battery was for. He, like, jolts her back to life. And
right, because she had died. And they had, again, Chekhov's gun, they had set this up before, where the last time she tried to go through withdrawals, she ended up reverting and ODing and died legally and then was brought back with a defibrillator. So they were like... So this is what he gave him the idea to do it this time. And it works. She's alive. Not only is she alive, she's clear.
Right. She's like
back to being human. But
so David's like, okay, I'm going to get the keys and we're going to leave.
Right.
He goes back into the cabin.
Eric's in there.
Eric is now a deadite.
Deadite.
And attacks him.
Mm-hmm.
Stabs him like through the neck almost with that box cutter.
What's a little stabbing between friends?
Well, in the jugular, it counts for a lot.
That's a lot, yeah.
David had before, like, doused the entire cabin.
He's going to burn it down, which is good, but also kind of a reference to what happened in real life to the real cabin.
Yeah.
It got burned down the year after the first movie came out.
Yeah.
Some just kind of tourists burned it down. They were drunk.
So he locks Mia out and he shoots the can of gas. And so him and Eric both die.
Mm-hmm.
Eric dies again.
Yep.
So technically, the abomination now has 5 souls because Mia did die.
Right.
So now it is crawling up from the earth.
Yeah.
This thing is fucking terrifying.
It is, but at the same time, I wish it was more of a design. It looks just like a person. I wish that it was more of a creature. I think
that's what makes it scary.
Okay.
Is that it is humanoid.
All right.
Anyway, it's chasing her. She grabs a chainsaw and it runs and like hides under the car. The abomination comes by. She cuts its legs off and crawls out from under it. The abomination falls, pushes on the car, and goes to roll it onto Mia. But she rolls out of the way almost enough. Her hand gets trapped under the car. Yep. She's stuck. The other thing is like crawling towards her, about to kill her. How terrifying.
Yeah.
And the most terrifying part is that Mia, strong-willed as she is, she can't reach the chainsaw that's like almost right next to her.
Right.
To cut her hand off. No, she just pulls it so much that it just fucking comes off. I don't know if you could do this.
I don't think you could do this. If it was damaged enough by the car, maybe, but I don't know.
It's brutal
to
like think about. So now she like rips it out. She doesn't have a hand. Mm-hmm. The abomination's coming towards her. She's like,
devour this.
Oh yeah, it's like, yeah, the abomination's like, I will devour your soul. And she like looks right at it and she's like, devour this. And like, boom. And like, you can see her like cutting the entire thing.
Yeah, it's incredible.
It sinks back into the earth. The blood rain that had happening upon the apocalypse had ended.
Stops. Mia leaves.
That's the end of the movie.
Yeah, she's alive, I guess.
She can't even like drive away because the Jeep's like on its ass end up or whatever. But
right. So what's Mia's life like after this?
Oh,
years of therapy.
I was going to say there are some points where maybe you should just die.
Hey, well, again, we'll talk about Texas Chainsaw Massacre in the next movie.
No, I'm not ready.
You are so worried.
So this is Evil Dead.
Yeah, and again, we didn't watch the TV show. We do plan on it at some point.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I do want to bring up one note. So I was reading the Wikipedia for these movies in preparation for this.
Right.
And I love the way that this is written because it's so petty. It's in reference to the cabin. So after the film was released, people were trespassing to go here because this is private property. This wasn't like a public location you could go to.
It was filmed down in Tennessee.
Right.
The cabin. But fun fact, the cellar portion is filmed in Michigan.
Yeah.
So like, at some points they're in Tennessee and some points they're in Michigan.
Right, and then it switches between the two, yeah.
Cute little thing.
But people would like come here and like trespass here. And at some point, some drunk people burned it down. And the only thing that was left was the chimney. And so people would take stones from it. And the way that Wikipedia writes this is, although the cabin is now gone, the chimney remains, which many people now take stones from when they trespass onto the location. Which I love the...
Petty.
I know. I imagine that the person writing this Wikipedia article is like, these damn kids and them trespassing on this lawn and taking the set from this movie that I love.
Damn, talking about Pennywise.
Pennywise, yes. Makes me laugh a lot.
So, what makes these movies scary?
Oh, the deadites.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The deadites are scary. They are a lot like zombies.
Which we've talked about
Yep.
all throughout this season.
Right. Zombies and werewolves and vampires, they all have this thing that ties into the dark side of humanity coming out. There's a lot of expression of the ego that gets to be explored when you're a deadite and you can just attack things. You don't have to worry about social convention or whatever. There are more so than any of those things, though. This movie really utilizes the fact that these are a bastardization of your friends and loved ones.
Yeah.
Because in zombies, it's kind of a horde, and sometimes you get it's my
mom, yeah.
Right, but it's not too common. These movies are only that.
Yeah.
Vampires, it's always some weird other thing, and werewolves, it's always internal. It's like me, but the deadites are that's my friends and my loved ones that are now trying to kill me, and now I have to put them down. That's really hard. They're primal and monstrous the way they run at you. I think a lot of the other stuff is more calculating and stuff, but these deadites are very, very much just that primal, that beast-like thing where they're running at you and they're like,
and it doesn't matter why. They
right.
just need your soul.
Yeah, they're just going to kill you. They also are very creepy because they tie into there's a lot of different stuff working on them. Because they laugh, they smile, they have all this creepy makeup, they look
that's what I'm
human.
saying. They're humanoid,
right.
And they have human qualities, but they are not human. Something
right.
is off, and whenever something is off from what we deem normal, that's what scares us.
Yeah. I personally prefer a little bit more of a monstrous thing, but that's just me. So they also do a lot of stuff with warping reality. There's a lot of things that just don't make sense. And sometimes that's used for comedic effect, and sometimes it's used for horror because there'll be just Ash reaching through the mirror and it's water and you're like, whoa, that's not how it's supposed to be. Or the reflection jumping out or whatever. There's a scene, I think it might be the second one, where they're kind of all huddled together in a corner and the camera's just doing all this weird stuff where it's just zooming around and it's like flat images that it's moving around. It's weird, but it's scary because you're like, what is happening?
It's a juxtaposition about what you normally would be.
Yeah. And there's an idea of loss of control because of these things.
Oh, yeah. That's probably what gets me most. Hi, my name is Jody Henderson, and I'm a very controlling person.
Absolutely. Don't
agree with that.
Well, it's true. Sam Raimi was talking about the scene with the tree, and he said that the reason he put that in the first movie was it was meant to show that these characters are now at the mercy of the forest. And that's a lot of the fear behind it, too. You're not in control of your life. You're out in the woods where anything can happen, We talked about Jason Voorhees as a bear.
Yeah, many times.
Yes. And finally, the deadites, we've gotten hints about them existing before humans. They say at one point, the Ed deadite says, "We are the things that were and shall be again." So it could be interpreted, especially that mixed with the tree stuff and the nature stuff, as nature returning to take the world back from humans.
Like The Happening?
Kind of like The Happening, but better. And there are a lot of different things that kind of explore that idea, but that's just something that's always unsettled humans as something that's dominated nature so heavily that it's what if it just decided, no, we're going back. We're taking this world back.
Yeah.
It's scary.
What I find to be particularly scary about the Evil Dead movies is the bodily dismemberment.
That too. There's a lot of it.
That's the word I'm going to say is kink.
Okay. I wouldn't say that's the word to use.
That's my trigger.
Yes. Okay. That's the thing that freaks you out the most.
Yes.
Not kink.
Yeah. Even in the first one when Shelly's biting off her own hand.
Oh, yeah.
That gets me. Ash cutting off his hand gets me, cutting off Cheryl's head or Linda's head.
Right.
And then in the new one, when Natalie's has to cut off her own arm or Olivia's cutting off her own face, that stuff is very scary.
Absolutely.
Because it's it's your body. You've grown that. You've been attached to it your entire life.
Right.
And to be and to that be dismembered from you, and then like, can you imagine? Can you imagine your like hand being cut off, and then you have to like look at it and maybe touch it and be like, that was once a part of me.
What if it was trying to attack you? I wouldn't really care.
I guess, but like those are the things
Yeah, you're
that
right.
if I thought about them too much, I would go insane because I don't like it. My grandfather like had to have his big toe amputated, and I spent nights tossing and turning thinking about it because I didn't like the fact that you would take like whenever something gets amputated, like, what do they do with that? Do they just throw it away?
I think
and that
so.
just seems like it's such a waste of, like, it's part of your soul.
I get
That's
it.
what I think.
I get it.
And so that's what I find most scary about these movies. And I know that's, like, such a small part of it, but that's what sticks with me.
I get it. And everybody has, like, those different things where, especially if you're, like, a kid, I think, I always love hearing stories about somebody watching a horror movie when they're a kid and they're like, oh, that scene where they go through there and they see like that thing falls and it scares them. That made me so scared to go in my closet. And I'm like, there's literally nothing scary about that scene. But to some people it just does, especially if you're young, but you're not. So get over it.
And we're just going to fucking continue it next week with Texas Chainsaw
It's not going to get any better. I'm very excited for these movies as well.
I'm already scared.
Yeah, it'll be okay. We'll get through it. Texas Chainsaw Massacre is our next series. It's our final one. Is it coming out on Halloween or the day before?
It is coming out the day before Halloween.
Okay, great.
It'll be a spooky...
primer. Devil's Night.
Devil's Night, which is a Michigan thing.
I guess so, yeah. So I'm excited for it.
Yeah, it'll get you in the spooky mood.
This was a fun episode to do. I
hope you enjoyed it. We enjoyed these movies immensely.
Yes, we're definitely going to watch them again in the future.
We didn't even hardly graze the topic of Evil Dead musical.
There was an Evil Dead musical.
Yeah. Go and check it out. I believe it's in Vegas. If you're there, go and check it out.
Mm-hmm. There was an Evil Dead video game. There's been a lot, but there was one that was released, I think, for the Commodore 64 before the second movie. So it only ties in for the first one. I'm going to try to get my hands on that and play it on my channel, Mr. Red Plays. So look forward to that. I don't know when, but it's going to be a lot of fun.
Alrighty, well, continue watching those scary movies, and I hope you have a good last week of October.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you can follow me on Twitter at CleverGirl, the letter F and the letter X.
I'm on Twitter at Mr., spelled it the long way, Red2342.
And if you'd like to follow the show, it's at Makes It Scary. We'll take your questions anytime.
Mm-hmm. Please make sure you rate and review the show so that share it so that iTunes knows that it's real and that people like it. So I like it, and I hope you do too.
Yeah. Well, that was just a groovy episode.
It absolutely was. Why don't you reach for the stop button and then say, "Come get some."
Come get some.